Hi, everyone. You're listening to ToRAISE Questions Doula podcast, and this is Thérèse Hakoun. I'm Executive Director of toLabor, which is an international doula training and certifying program here.
Organization.
Yes, organization. And I'm sitting here with Melanie. Melanie Headley is here. And
Hi.
today I am introducing, because I've gotten used to doing it by myself too
I
many
know,
times.
it's so sad. She looked at me and said, "Do you know what to say?" And I said, "No, I forget. It's been too long."
So I'm so practiced at it now. But yes, Melanie is here today, which is really lovely. And I know people miss hearing your voice, Melanie.
I'm really glad to be back. This is great.
Yes. So how are you? Because you've been busy.
I have been busy. I'm good. I'm on call, perpetually.
That's why you're not always here.
Yep. And just as we've been talking about, gearing up towards summer with kids out of school. So that's terrifying. And just doing life.
Good.
How are you?
Same thing. Just been kind of busy.
You've been
busy.
traveling?
Yeah, traveling and work and just life too. But all is good. And, I always bring up the weather because I'm such a weather person. It's because it has such an effect on me.
Yeah.
And we are just in the best weather right now.
I know. I kind of want to open those windows behind
I know.
you. It's beautiful here.
Yeah, we had such hot weather for a while, and now it's gone to what spring really should be, where it's cool but warm at the same
sunny.
time. And sunny. Yeah, there's a lot of rain here, I think. I wasn't here, but I heard there was a lot of rain, so it just feels beautiful. So that always makes me feel good, period.
Yeah.
And having windows open in the house and being able to walk every place.
Not paying for heat or air conditioning.
Isn't it the truth? How low the electric bill gets, which I'm all
These
electric.
are the things that I think
now.
about now.
Yeah. Well, I open up the bill and I go, yes, look at that. It's so much lower.
Yep.
Yeah.
Except now I have a big garden, and then my water bill is looking different.
Yes.
Like, oh yeah, I have to actually water these things, and I have
Except
to pay for
here
it.
we get, a lot of rain. That if you,
last week was good.
Yeah, you don't always have to, but with the summer coming, probably yes, and then you'll have. Never mind, we won't talk about how it
great.
change. Yeah,
Great.
So, well, anyway, so we're going to be chit chatting today some, and just want to put out there what we always mention is just take a look at our website. Check out any workshops that are coming up.
toLabor.com.
Thank you. And check out where you can come to take a training with us. There are plenty all around the country. And as I've said every time, if there's not one in your community, you have two options. One is to travel. And I know that is kind of privileged of me to say, but sometimes it is feasible in people's lives to do, or they figure out a way to do it. And it is just a really nice way to spend 3 days away from your own life, immersing yourself into this. We can talk about that another time. Or the other option is contact our workshop coordinator, Nicole, at tolaborworkshops@gmail.com and inquire about perhaps bringing a training to your community and see if we can make arrangements for something for you to be able to attend and create community in where you live.
Yeah, bring it to you.
Yeah, which would be really nice too.
And we've got one coming up here in Richmond.
Yeah, we do, but it's basically full.
Is that?
At this point, yeah. The ones in Richmond, if you want to come to them, are amazingly, historically fill up very fast. But we may do another one before
I've got some buddies in that one. I'm excited.
Yeah, I see the references.
Good.
And see your name
Good.
in many, which is really lovely. But we do have one in Cincinnati this summer, and I'm not sure where else in the summer, potentially in Minnesota and Rhode Island. No, Minnesota is probably going to be at another time. Anyway, plenty in the fall. And
so we've got some openings to bring you in the summer. Good.
Yeah, as a potential. So, and a shout out, as always, to Latched Mama.
Latched Mama.
I was in a workshop this weekend teaching, and I looked over at one of the participants, and I said to her on a break, is that a latched mama shirt you have on? She goes, it is. I love it. And I was so excited because I don't know, but I'm pretty sure she heard about Latch Mama through the podcast.
That's great.
Yeah,
so good.
She said, yeah, I can see where you guys thought it's so comfortable because it's just a comfortable piece of clothing to wear anytime. So check them out at latchmama.com and their Facebook page. And I guess we'll be right back.
Can't wait to hear what we're talking about. Here we are. So ToRAISE and I come in here into our office and sit on this little tiny couch together, and we're surrounded by plants, and today it's sunshine, but sometimes it's rain. And before we even start to tape, we spend at least an hour catching up with each other. And sometimes we don't even make it to actually tape because our own catch-up sessions take too long.
I know, it's so funny. It is so funny. We have scheduled podcast time, and then we run out of time to podcast because we're talking. So, and so often when we're talking, we say we should just be recording.
I know, we just had a really good conversation.
Yeah. And so I think today this is kind of going to be that kind of conversation, Melanie. Bringing in things that people have been asking through the questions that they are sending, kind of filling in about a lot of different things. And, one of the things I just feel like I wanted to talk about and then want you to talk about as well about some things is I have been doing a lot of workshops recently, and I think I really want to talk about the workshop itself a little bit. We are toLabor sponsored, and I do bring up the workshop a lot, but I just feel like what transpires there is just so powerful.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how I know this because I've been doing it for so long, that when the people who are walking in the door, they're coming in to learn how to be a doula or enhance their skills at being a doula, because some have already been doing doula work, either been trained by a different organization or who have informally been going to births and decide, what else can I learn make this more professional.
Right. Or some women come in thinking, well, I had a doula and she helped so much in my own experience. I would like to learn how to do that or give back to my own community or...
Absolutely. And then you make me also want to mention that there's the people who come, like just recently I had, in 2 different workshops, I had somebody come who is pregnant, and they just felt like, okay, I could learn a lot from this about what are all my options and choices. I mean, they may learn that in a childbirth class, obviously, we hope a good one like yours, but that they just felt like they wanted to be in that 3-day immersion of learning. And then we had a guy who was, they're pregnant, he and his wife, for the first time. And she really wants him to be super involved, be like his doula, though we hope that they still will get a doula.
Wow.
And so he felt like, let me learn. What do doulas do? What can I learn? And
he gets a gold star.
Well, yes, he does, but everybody gets a gold star.
Yeah, but that's pretty incredible.
Yes, but when women come to learn, we don't give them gold stars for it.
Well, everyone should get a gold star. Yes, you're right. Yes. But I think it's
out of the ordinary.
I think it's great. I see the couples, the partners coming into class, and they're reading, they're doing the research that way, but actually taking the training to learn what a doula does from that perspective is pretty cool.
And it was really what I wish was that his wife had been there too, because I think what a benefit for both of them to have known that.
Absolutely.
But
I was lucky enough to be pregnant when I took the training, and
That's right.
I was taking the training to eventually become a doula, but being pregnant and taking the workshop was just a huge gift.
Well, and that's what so many people, so when they walk in the door, they're coming in with this intention of their own, of what this is going to look like, what their agenda is, what their intentions are, what they think
expectations.
Expectations.
Yeah.
And I know when they're walking in the door, all of that is going to transpire. But how much more is going to transpire as well? That this, that things are going to shift in some way. And I don't know what that means. And I don't want to dramatize it or build it up in any way like it's this magnificent thing that happens. But it is amazing what the transformation from Friday to Sunday evening when we're all saying goodbye to each other.
Well, I don't want to say this, and how I describe it is always life-changing. It was for me, and for the people that I talk to that have gone through it, they agree. They say the same thing, and I don't want that to sound trite, but it is life-changing. It's life-changing to take a workshop where you do go into it having your own expectations and come out of it completely aware in a new way and learning things beyond what you even thought were going to be spoken of. Rarely do you, and don't get embarrassed, rarely do you find a teacher who is so passionate about what they are teaching and who is actually living what they are teaching. So to be able to be in a room with you for those 3 days and hear your stories and hear, just what your philosophy is around supporting families through birth is incredible. And in the way in which you teach is so easy. It's easy to learn from you in a way that it's not boring. You're not really making an effort to stay focused and pay attention.
That's my problem. Stay focused and not become tangential, or allow myself to go off on those tangents because somebody asked a question.
But everything is a learn. That's
what I think,
a learning,
Melanie.
Option. So learn a teaching moment. It's fun.
Well, I do think that, and I thank you for putting me in there. And yes, I teach the workshop. But I also, I really mean this. I don't want to sound corny or fluffy about this, but I really feel like I am just the vessel. I am just it's everybody together, that is doing this. And without people, the participation, the different life stories, the different expectations, the different questions and different experiences, it would not be, I would be just that person up there talking. And I sure do a hell of a lot of talking during that time, but I allow so much talking to go on as well. And I think what I see, and I try to express this, and I hear I'm going to grapple with it again and probably fail, but the workshop is the proof of doula work, because you walk in with this anticipation of, in essence, giving birth to something new. And you are surrounded by people who are caring and compassionate and who care about what you're thinking and feeling, and who are responding to your dreams and your stories and your desires. And then, so you're being doula'd yourself.
Right.
And then you are also a doula during that weekend doing that for other people. And there'll be people, this is a really hard thing that I don't think a lot of people understand in the workshops. And I understand that this must be frustrating. There are people, if somebody has had a baby before they come to the training, one or X many, they will be reliving their births during the workshop.
Yes.
It just, they are listening, they're learning about being a doula, but they're rethinking their own entire experience over again. And I know this is going to happen. As soon as I hear that in their introduction, they say, I have 1 child or I have 4 or whatever many, I think, okay, well, they're going to be going through this experience.
They're going to be processing.
They're going to process this, and they're going to figure things out given this information.
And they're going to be processing it publicly through this class.
So one of my greatest challenges is that I so strongly believe that the work of a doula is holding space for somebody to be able to share their story, go through what it takes to come out to a different place, whatever that is.
Well, that's what I'm thinking in my head as you say this, because that is, yes, you might be the vessel for the information to be passed through, but the way that you deliver the information and the way that you facilitate the group throughout that weekend, every moment is a teaching moment, and everything that we experience as students in that workshop is actually, we're watching a doula do the work in the way that toLabor expects a doula to do the work.
Thank you. Because see, that's what I worry that I know people, I believe people are understanding that. I do understand that some can get really frustrated with, some people just have more to say than other people do.
Well,
some
clients might need more than other clients.
Well, that's it. And I want to say, and I say in the beginning of the workshop, remember, some of these people may be your clients in the future. And I will be, I'm saying this now, some people will annoy the crap out of you in this workshop. Some people will just endear you to them. Some people will just, it'll just be a surface. You won't get into deep except whatever. Those people who annoy you are the ones you need to really then pull in and go, okay, why is this person bothering me? Because if this were my client, how would I be handling this situation? And so,
welcome to doula life.
Right. And so as the facilitator of this, I know there's an agenda, and I know that's what somebody would say also is, well, I paid money to come here to learn how to be a doula. And I wanted to hear more information from you and head on to this topic instead of having this person tell their story or this person share their story. And this one took more time than somebody else, or, the impatience with it. And I completely respect that. And that's why I say it's a challenge, because I want to balance out also other people's needs. Mm-hmm. But you did come to learn to be a doula. And just what you said, Melanie, it's an example of, we have to hold space for that person to say that. And I am not going to say, sorry, we don't have time for this right now.
Well, unfortunately, in the way that I look at it, if you're a doula, and this is actually what a doctor that we both know and love recently said to me, you're always a doula.
Right.
You don't get to take that hat off. And so to really become a doula, you walk through life doulaing everyone around you.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's really hard work, but that's who you are. You don't get to say, oh, I'm very compassionate in this moment, and then really not. Over here. Really, like what we said earlier in our catch-up talk was, we usually know what the right answer is. Right. Sometimes we do it. But, it is important to be able to watch life unfold using those tools, skills. The skills that a doula uses.
And you're right, and the tools, and so what I do end up seeing in the end, even if somebody feels like, I wish, they may have expressed to me or on an evaluation form, I wish we had covered this, or I wish people hadn't shared so many personal stories or something of that sort. I take that to heart. I really take that to heart. As the facilitator, I don't want anyone to walk away feeling like you didn't get what you came for, what you thought you were coming for. And I don't think people walk away not getting what they thought they came for, but maybe there are certain pieces missing from that. But I hope, and I do believe that they're walking out with much more than I could have ever, quote unquote, taught them.
This is a different kind of class.
Yeah,
if you're going into this thinking that it's the kind of class that you take in college, you're wrong.
Right.
It's an experience, and you're learning from every minute that you start that workshop.
Well, that's it, because
even during the breaks.
Yeah, listening to those stories is what is the experiential exercise in essence that you're getting. You're hearing,
you are leading by example.
Yeah, you're hearing the real life situation somebody is going through, or this person who's sharing what their birth was may be pregnant now if they were the client, and telling you all about this. And what are you going to go, oh, well, I really have these topics I want to cover.
Right.
And yes, these are important things, and I stress you have to have parameters, you have to have boundary lines, you have to set time limits. I still agree with all of that, but there's a way to do it with a kindness towards it.
Absolutely.
And a space
and a
for
respect.
It. Yeah, and you will do that as a doula in the workshop. Like you said, I like that. I never thought of we should put it up there in that way on the website, that if you are entering into this thinking you're going to a class, it's not a class.
No.
We're not sitting in desks. I'm not having a PowerPoint experience. We're not just raising our hands and asking a question and somebody's giving back the answer. It's really, we set it up in a circle so that it is truly a sharing circle of information. And I don't know everything. And I am...
Well, and I love how you do set it up, because you start it out as though you are going through a birth.
Right.
And you talk about birth and supporting birth and birth work from, onset of that prodromal phase and going on through.
And we're in the prodromal on Friday.
Right, exactly.
And it's the hardest day of the workshop in some ways for everyone, because I don't know what this is about. I'm not familiar with this. I'm not.
I don't really know what to expect. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
I'm scared. I'm uncomfortable.
I don't know if this is what I wanted. Oh God, this is so exciting.
Why won't this lady next to me stop talking about her birth?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I can't believe this is what it's already all about.
Mm-hmm.
All those emotions that you do go through in early labor.
But then being able to watch you just, very gracefully go through with each different person and meet each different person where they are.
And that's the other part, Melanie.
And that's being a doula.
And those are the words that I use all the time during the workshop, is we meet the person where they are.
Yep.
And so I feel like when I am so truly privileged to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I know I've been doing it for a really long time. I have taught, hundreds of workshops, thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
But each time, even though it's like birth, even though it's so familiar to me, and I can answer so many questions. Most questions I can answer, which kind of blows me away. Like, really, you can ask that question? I know the answer to that.
Right.
Wow. And then not know the answer also to other things. I still am in awe of the process. I am still in awe of the unfolding and the, I watched people over these last workshops, the last 5 workshops that I've taught, and they've all kind of been on top of each other, really go through pain and healing, or been in pain, feel anger and pain, and then at the end feel like, oh my God, something shifted.
Mm.
And others who feel like, oh, I thought in their, in their introduction, they'll say, you know, they had a beautiful experience. And yes, they had an epidural, but they always wanted an epidural, or you know, whatever they're expressing. And so they feel good about their experience. And those people, I feel a little like, oh God, I don't want to destroy that in any way, because everybody's birth is what we want it to be.
Absolutely.
If you think it was beautiful, then I believe it's beautiful. I have no business changing that in any way, but there's going to be potentially information this weekend that might shift that some. And so there might be some aha moments.
There might be some questions that come up.
And there might be some grieving then for some people. And then what I see, even when those things unfold about their births, and it could be somebody also who thought they had the most wonderful unmedicated birth, but they realized the lack of support that they received and how it could have been. So there might be all of a sudden this shift in them. But what I see at the end is, I would say, almost 100%, if not 100%, there is a piece with, oh, I get it, though. I get where I was at when I made those choices. I get what I would need to do, what I would want to do different the next time, what I need for myself differently if there is a next time. And if there isn't for me, then how can I help other people with this? But I just see the whole thing as... and I said this at the end of the workshop in Tulsa, which is the last I just finished on Sunday. This, you know, on whenever this goes out, but on a Sunday, I said to them, "This is the proof of how well this work really works. Is here we are. We didn't even know each other when we walked in the door, or at least some of us didn't know each other."
You should end each workshop and just go, "You just got doula'd."
I'll just tape you saying that and play it at the end, right? She's cracking herself up. Oh, God, her whole body's wiggling like a little puppy.
I'm just imagining. It's so good.
Yeah, I am corny enough. I embarrass myself enough in those workshops without doing something like that.
Now you're going to remember my face and my voice saying that next time.
I remember when I was first learning about social media, and I was teaching a workshop out in the Midwest, and I won't say where it is because I don't want those people, if they're listening, to remember me doing this. But I said, yeah, I give you permission on breaks and at other times. If you want to put out on social media, you know, you post on Facebook, send out twats, and people looked at me and they go, what? And I go, oh, tweets. Oh, that's how bad I am. But
twats would work too.
Yeah, put out twats for about the doula workshop.
Twat.
Yeah, God. So I do enough damage. I don't need to do that impression, but I could. I'm sure. So anyway, I was just thinking about the beauty of the people who attend the trainings, their willingness to put themselves in that vulnerable place and allow themselves to, you know, let those emotions come up, and that people around them, they see that people are caring about it. And then also,
which is just birth,
is just, it's the whole thing.
It is.
And as you said earlier, it's life. It's life. And it's my whole purpose really for doing these trainings is I just think this is how we should be living. You know, I mean, yes, we all get annoyed at people. We all get impatient with people. We all get judgmental about people. But it's coming back down to that moment. And what I stress and the things is, you know, we did this for 3 days. We should carry this forward.
Absolutely.
It should not. We can't obviously live in the idyllic state. We could, if everybody would agree to be there together, that would be wonderful. But we can carry that spirit with us at all times.
Well, I think that being a doula is actually a way of life.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have so many friends who come to me with, you know, just close friends saying, I got to tell you the story and I don't need any judgment. And I'm like, you're coming to me because you know that's what I do.
Right.
I have no judgment for my career. my job is to not judge,
Right.
to not have an agenda over someone else's life or choices. So, that is, being a doula is a way of life, to be open and warm and receptive and supportive and guiding at times, and to give all of the information so that they can choose what is best for them. But, I think you learn, you open the door to that way of life in those 3 days.
Yeah. Well, good, because I know that that is the message. I know that that's what I want the message to be. And I know that what I see is that transpire. And it just gives me a lot of hope. And because just having, especially, I just did 2 workshops back to back. So I'm really immersed in workshop thoughts right now. And I have another one coming up in a week or two that, I feel it takes a lot of energy for everyone to participate in it, but it is also life affirming, and it's hopeful. It's just, I look at the process and I think, if this is happening somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else, what a blessing, what a gift. And then the thought that the people who are participating are going out doing this with somebody who is, walking the walk with a pregnant person into birth and into parenthood. But I hope also doing that for themselves, and doing it, like you said, for your friends and for your loved ones. And, even better, for the strangers out there,
Absolutely. Well, isn't it the first day that you say, this is a social justice issue? This is not just a birth issue that we are going to be discussing this weekend. And that's true. Just look how this could potentially change the way that you do interact with loved ones, friends, and most importantly, strangers. If you were able to take these characteristics out into the world and live like this.
Yeah. So
most of the time.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, we're not perfect. And
right.
I think that's what hurts my heart when I hear doula, the doula world shifting and changing in other ways, because to me, this is what it's about. And yes, I believe in the business aspect of it, and I am the person, especially on Sunday, I'm talking about your boundary lines. You've got to set up, and I talk about you and how we'll be podcasting, and you'll be getting texts from your clients. No. And I'm like, Melanie, stop answering them, because if you're answering them, that means you're 24 hours available to them.
It's true.
Yes. But, I might sound like I'm contradicting myself. At the same time, I'm saying, be open, meet the person where they are, hold that space for them.
And be professional.
And be professional, though, and have boundary lines around your own life so you can hold space for your own self, too, and for those people in your own life. So there's this balance, this dance, just like the workshop's a dance for me, of how do I meet the needs of each person in this training. Impossible.
Right.
But we're going to do the best that we can. And also, I'm not the only person who is available to meet the needs of every person in this room.
Right.
I'm just the facilitator of that. And then I see the connections that happen with people and the conversations that happen. And, I struggle too when somebody talks too much, other than myself, which I get annoyed at myself for talking too much. Believe me, I'm probably the hardest one on myself. It can be hard because I know I've got to cover 5 more topics before the end of the day. And here we are, we're still talking about this. But I always come back to, it's okay. It's okay, because this person's story needed to be heard.
And there was a lesson in there.
Yeah. I needed to learn how to not always rush.
Yeah.
Not to be impatient, and not worry so much about how everybody else feels if that one person is my focus right at the moment.
Right.
And yet I also have to worry about that person and that person and that person. So in the end, that's just what's on my mind right now. It's not anything. It's all related to the work and all of you listening, how it relates to your work. And I know not all of you took, the toLabor doula training, and that's totally okay. You want to have an experience? Come to one of our workshops.
I think this is a good conversation that people can hear, because if you haven't taken it but you like listening to us talk about things and think, well, that's not for me. I don't really like taking classes, or I'm not really in the mood to sit in a classroom for 3 days and learn about birth, blah, blah, blah. Well, what we're saying is it's not like that. And this workshop is for everyone.
Right.
It's not just for a certain kind of person. It's for everybody. And what ToRAISE does so well is creates a safe place for everyone, and I mean, as a doula does, makes you feel safe going through something that might be uncomfortable or nerve-wracking or a little scary. So yeah.
And I hope for those who have taken a training and are not going to take a different training, take our training, I hope you did have those experiences as well. And I'm trusting that you did, and that...
Well, there's just so much more to being a doula than knowing the
facts,
counterpressure techniques,
right,
and, the timing of the contractions and all of the interventions and, breastfeeding support and what to talk about in an interview and a prenatal visit. There's just, I think what this conversation has become, which we didn't talk about at all beforehand,
right.
But just the way of life and the way of, moving through this work with, just like you say, open hands and an open heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the just underlying theme for what toLabor is and does.
Yeah, well, thanks. And thanks for sharing your really valuable insights to me about it, because I will also say I grapple with, but I think I'm helping myself after 20 years be able to figure out, because people will say, God, it was life-changing to me. And I think, what was it that was life-changing? And I want to know what was it?
Mm-hmm.
But I think what it is what we were just talking about. It's, for me, and this is always what I say at the end, but it's about creating that safe space for people to be able to allow these things to come up. And yes, it is also eye-opening. Like, there's so many moments when people go, you've got to be kidding. Or, I thought I knew so much.
Right.
I mean, recently someone said to me, they had a bunch of babies already, and they said, I, of course, knew a lot of things coming in here, but I didn't know all these other things and I had 5 kids, or I had 4 kids, or I had 6 kids, or I had 2 kids, or, whatever the case might be. Or the other one, oh my God, I now feel like I must have just been really lucky, because I didn't know all these things, but this is what somehow I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the births that I was looking for, and feel like now, like, you got to be kidding. I just thought everybody had that experience, not understanding that how really important it is. Yes, to also know, I think also what the workshop does, and I think this is where the life-changing perhaps is as well, is those realizations of, oh, I didn't know that. And if I didn't know that, what else didn't I know? What else don't I know in the future?
Mm-hmm.
What am I living right now that I should be asking more questions about now?
Right.
And that's my real...
Taking responsibility.
And all of a sudden having permission also to question things.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think maybe that's the life-changing part of it also, is that helping... and I say, if you are more of a quiet person during the, in your daily life, I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I would encourage you to speak more this weekend, because the greater part of the job of a doula is helping someone find their voice. So we have to have our voice in order to really know what that means to help someone else have their voice.
Which fosters that ask questions.
Put
yourself into some uncomfortable situations that you actually will feel empowered.
Yeah.
After the fact.
Instead of intimidated.
Yeah.
Instead of, and I always, don't you think when you're with people in birth, you're watching them in their most vulnerable and powerful time of their life?
Yes.
And it's such a juxtaposition because they are so incredibly vulnerable. They are just this open vessel, literally and figuratively. They are the image of vulnerability, and yet they are equally in power. I didn't say empowered, in power, because the power that is surging through their body, the power to be able to go through that experience, and the power to bring that baby forth is unbelievable.
And it's just coming from them.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
We're just there to hold the space.
Yeah.
We're just there, yes, to know the techniques, know how to help. We want all those tools.
Normalize it.
Yes.
Yeah. I just had a birth this past week and had the postpartum visit with her yesterday, and she did such a phenomenal job. I mean, she was just really fast birth, which, as you and I both know, can sometimes be way harder.
Yeah.
And first baby, really fast birth, even harder because you have no idea what to expect, and your head kind of doesn't have time to catch up with your body sometimes.
You're holding that baby. What?
Yeah, how did this get here? And, she was just over and over telling me, using my name in the room, I'm scared. Melanie, I'm scared. I'm really scared. I'm really scared. Melanie, I'm really scared. I'm really scared. And yet she did it, and she went through it, and she did it. And, there were a couple of scary moments. And I saw her yesterday, and after, I got in and, she handed me the baby and we're sitting on the couch. I just looked at her and I said, do you know how brave you were? And she just started crying. And then
it makes me want to cry.
I know, it makes me want to cry. And I looked over at her husband, and he was just beaming, looking at her like, he just.
You should see Melanie.
Finally,
I
know, we're crying. But that's it, right? That's it, because
that's exactly that juxtaposition that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's those moments of what I want us to hold. And I think that we are watching that during trainings, and that allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and then feel the power within ourselves, or allowing someone else to be vulnerable and holding that space so that they can feel powerful empowers us also.
And we can't forget that.
No, we can't.
I mean, I have been to over 200 births, and I could easily burn out.
Yeah.
When we've had whole shows on burnout. And yet, we could just focus on the money and the business aspect, and, putting up all the boundaries and making sure this is a career, and, paying the bills from
no
and
emotion
all of that. No emotion. Right. Like, oh, yes, I know that you're scared, but push harder, but this is why we get into the work. You and I don't even know how many births you've been to, and we both just got teary-eyed thinking about this one first-time mama going through it, because we've both been there, and we both know how important that feeling, that emotion is in the moment. But we can't forget that. And I think that's just another of what makes toLabor different, because that feeling is what that workshop gives you in the beginning, or in the middle, wherever you are in your journey of birth work. But when you take that training, it's like, oh, I get it. This is really what is calling me to do this work, and why I stay in it. I just had, a couple months ago, I had 3 births back to back. By back to back, I mean like barely a couple hours of sleep between each one. And I was walking into, the third hospital, the third day, the third family. And mostly what was on my mind was, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I want to see my kids. But then I was walking in thinking just about birth, and how birth, was taken out of people's homes and put in the hospital, and really kind of taken away from women for a while, and, made it into this business and this process, and, moving women through like numbers. And I just had this feeling, you know, walking up the stairs to that labor and delivery unit, like, even though I was exhausted, but they can try to take it away from us, you know, but here we are. I'm going in after it, you know, like this is where.
What a great story, Melanie.
But, you know, like this is where we have to be, and we've found our way in. So
I like that. And that's what we have to draw up. And it's not always easy to draw it up. And that's what I also want people to do, is pay attention to when it's not coming up.
Right.
It's not coming up. And it's totally understandable after being exhausted. Totally get it. But it is also something to really pay attention to if it's just what you're feeling. Like, this is really hard. I don't know if I really can do this. Think about that and see where your energy is going, and where is it still there for birth? Because sometimes there is that need to either regenerate, revitalize. I mean, we have people who take the workshop also who have been doing doula work for years, or may have been trained by us or by somebody else. And they come and they go, oh my God, this was the best thing I did, because I feel re-energized. It's kind of like getting back. Why was it that I wanted to do this work? What was it that drew me into this? Because you can get caught also into the habitual way of doing things. And, you know, it would have been just as easy for you, Melanie, and not to fault anybody, because this might have been the right choice for some, to just say, I can't do another birth.
Right.
I got to call
I need
in
my
my
backup
to do this. And that's very right. And that's a righteous thing to do for not only for your own self-care, but specifically for your client's care. But if you are feeling that, like you did, then it does carry us forward. It does carry us forward until we finally can get that sleep, eat, and see our kids again.
Yeah.
You know, the other important part about this, though, is how do you, like that woman that you were just talking about who gave birth, and how hard it was. She was scared. And then she felt triumphant, and you helped her recognize. She knew that, but you being able to say that to her, it affirmed it in her. It gave her the words. She was walking in courage that whole time. Those are my words for people for myself. It started with me. When I feel afraid, I realize really if I'm moving forward, and I'm still afraid, I'm walking in courage. And instead of, my perspective switch is from fear to strength. And I think of courage as being strong. How do you do that with the person who has a birth experience that was not what they anticipated, and they feel, we know that the majority of people we work with their intention is to have a low intervention birth, an unmedicated birth. Not everyone, of course, but say that's who I'm talking about. And their birth results are not that. It is either that they made the decision that an epidural was the right choice, or that forceps or vacuum needed to be used, or the decision was made that a cesarean was the best way for this baby to be birthed. It's so important that they feel that.
Absolutely.
As well.
That affirmation of what their choices did become. And I think, we're getting into another topic, but so, I think that by being present for all of those decisions as they come up in the birth, then that's where it goes back to what I was saying, how we don't have an agenda. And that's what we should talk about pre-labor, that, I want to know what your goals are in this birth. I want to know really how far, and I say this, how far do you want me to push you? But I also say I have no agenda, and what my agenda is to support you in whatever way you need to be supported. And so if interventions do come up, we talk about them. And, yes, of course, epidurals are needed. And sometimes, we feel like, well, you could go a little bit longer, but then we get to that fine line of coping and suffering. And is she going to look back on this birth as empowering or traumatizing? And then it's time to get some relief. It's time to use a different tool. And so I think that my job as a doula then changes from remembering what her initial goal was to supporting her in the here and now in that moment, and affirming that this decision now is in fact the best decision, and telling her and partner how proud of them I am, and then reiterating that afterward. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And you answered it beautifully. And I think that again I'm going back now to the workshop, that I think sometimes when people come to the workshop, I make it really clear that we're not anti-medical, we're not anti-interventions, we're not just pro-midwife and everybody doing birth, without medication.
Well, I think people coming in and maybe leaving might be a little overzealous with the all natural.
Right.
And I think it takes time, and I think it takes experiences and attending all kinds of different births to understand the importance of those tools and when to use them and how to use them in ways that are medically necessary, but also in ways that
are emotionally necessary.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, we talk about this. Is it medically necessary? Well, no, but she needed it.
Right.
You know?
So it was necessary.
It was necessary. Right. And so, but then also, I remember having a dumb conversation with my midwife, saying, right when I got into doing doula work, and I made the stupidest comment to her, like, well, but she got the epidural, so. And then she said, but it sounds like she needed it. It sounds like it was time to do that. And then looking back, I'm like, God, Melanie, put your foot in your mouth, But I was in that brand new feeling like I failed because my client got an epidural, which is so untrue.
Right.
And now I'm at a completely different place in my work where, I talk about this pre-labor with all of my clients. And, this is when we use an epidural. This is when it's a good idea. And this is why you've chosen to not have your baby in the woods by yourselves. You have this safety net underneath you. You have a care provider. You have me. You have a team to help make these decisions and help support you in the decisions that you will make. Yes.
And I think that, and I like also that you said that sometimes I think people leave the workshop feeling overzealous, and because of everything we've talked about how it is possible, if people are given their options and choices, that often I think we're sifting out why is it. I think we're addressing that the epidural rates are approximately 60 to 100% depending on the community, depending on the hospital.
Right.
Why is it that high? And maybe it could be misconstrued that we don't think epidurals or medications or interventions are beneficial enough, though we talk definitely about the importance of them and how we work with them and all of those things. It is in the end what we want people to feel is in their vulnerability, they felt powerful.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it, by what you just described you do with your clients, is bringing them to a place of helping them make a truly informed decision that is based on not only the physical, but on emotionally what they're feeling. Because yes, you and I both know there are times that it's almost like you have to say to them, I really think that your best option at this point would be to do an epidural, or you want to just look and go, take the damn epidural.
Yeah.
Like, you need to sleep right now.
Yeah.
And
well, and what I've been doing recently, and this was from a conversation that I heard one of the midwives that I work with a lot in town say to a client after she got her epidural, because as we know, getting an epidural usually means labor slows down, and that usually means you're going to need some Pitocin.
Right.
But we are getting the epidural so that you can sleep right now. We are turning your head off. We've turned your body off. We're turning your head off so you can sleep. But we still need labor to be happening. So the new conversation I've been having with people, because when I have a client who does get an epidural and they are, 4, 5, 6 centimeters dilated when they get that epidural, I usually go home, and I am very lucky that I live 5 minutes from the hospital.
Right.
So I usually go because I'm not going to sit in the room and watch her and her husband sleep. And chances are I've been up with them for a long time already as well. So it's time for all of us to get a little rest. Sometimes if I'm in a hospital farther away, I will sleep in the room with them, or sometimes we're lucky enough to have a little call room where the midwives are, a physician is nice enough to give us the room for a second so we can give them space and we have space to rest. But what I've been doing at this specific hospital is saying, before you go to sleep, why don't we talk about if Pitocin is needed? Do you want to do it? Let's answer your questions right now while you're still awake, and then that decision is already made, so no one is having to come in the room and wake you up to talk about it then.
Right. Okay.
So, and that's gone over pretty well with clients, because then they
have a plan.
They have a plan, and they aren't surprised by it, and nothing is being done to them without their consent.
Right. What about, and here's
where she questions me.
What happens? And I think we've already had this conversation, and because you've talked about this before, as far as that you've gone home with an epidural, and I have been, and I know it's not common, but I have been with the people, and I have listened to enough of the stories in other parts of the country where the epidural was given and labor did happen it was the thing that we hoped would help them relax enough
to let the baby come.
Yeah. And so labor, I remember the first time this happened with me, I was just like, I anticipated the long. She was 4 centimeters.
Right.
And she just said, I need the epidural. And literally within 1 hour, she was 10 and pushing. And it was her first baby, and she didn't have a long pushing stage. And I hadn't left. It hadn't occurred to me to leave, though I knew, oh God, I could be here forever.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure I was grappling at that time. Oh, I would love to be home, for these hours.
Right.
But so what happens in your mind about that? Or how do you deal with that then?
Well, I think with everything with this job, you've got to put a lot of trust in the universe.
Yeah.
And I make sure that like I said, I work with this group of midwives a lot, and so we all have each other's phone numbers.
That's
and
helpful. But what if you don't, though? See, because there's people who's listening.
Then I wouldn't. I've chosen to do this because
you have that relationship.
Because it works for me in my practice, and we have that communication line open. So
they would call you, the midwives.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So they call me. Usually I'm hearing from the midwife before I'm hearing from the partner saying it's time for her to push. I'm hearing from the midwife, it's looking like we're getting close.
That's great. And I think this is really good that we're qualifying that to Melanie and explaining that you have that kind of relationship.
Right.
Because my recommendation isn't necessarily
for
people to go home. So if you don't have that, you would stay.
Well, and if things were looking like, if it was transition and for some reason we've opted to get the epidural.
Right.
I would not be going anywhere.
Right, exactly. I know you were saying earlier, 4, 5.
6, maybe.
Maybe.
So, and hi baby, and maybe we're working on a positional thing. Like, it's looking like it's going to be a while.
And you leave good instructions, like you said already, about here's what could happen. Here's what let's talk about your options and choices. Yeah. What plan are you considering? Right. Partner, please, if things shift or change, call me right away. I'll be back. I'm 10 minutes from, it'll take me 15 minutes to get back here.
Exactly.
Or a half an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have a safety net, but I think your relationship, like you said, with the midwives that you're practicing, working a lot with, really helps in that way.
Yep.
And
the nurses. I work with great nurses too,
right.
who alert me if the midwife is sleeping. Will alert me as well.
Yeah, well, that makes it really nice then. Well, I really appreciate...
This was fun.
Yeah, just talking. And thanks, everyone. I hope this wasn't too...
rambling.
Yeah, I just felt like I am feeling workshop energy, which is like feeling birth energy.
Yeah.
And that's what really sits with me when I leave a workshop. I feel like I've just attended a 3-day birth.
I bet.
And I've witnessed this birthing of a whole new group of doulas, or a re-energizing of some who already are practicing. And I feel like I am in a vulnerable space when I'm there, because also there's expectations of me that I have of myself. There's expectations I know that people have of me, and I want to be just everything for everybody.
Well, now you're really screwed, because people are really going to expect the best.
Oh, really? I'm making all this up, and so is Melanie. I mean, we have a script here that we've been reading. We read about workshops like this, and we just thought, let's talk about it like it's really our trainings.
It's just a PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's just, and I sit behind a podium and I just talk, and every once in a while somebody raises their hand and I go, okay, yeah, what do you want? Because
everyone's in their own cubicle with their own online test.
Right. And nobody gets up and moves until I tell them to. And there are no tangential experiences throughout this experience.
That sounds terrible.
But I always walk away feeling so empowered as well,
Yeah.
But I also walk away from it like you do, like you just described. After doing the 2 births, you're like, oh, I just want, and yet you find the energy for the 3rd one. And that's how I feel. Like, it is hard work. I mean, on Monday after the workshop, it's just, I have to function. I'm either traveling home or I'm right back into work, or I'm traveling home and working at the same time. And but I'm emotionally and physically spent in so many ways.
Yep.
But it's so energizing and hopeful, just like you feel when you leave a birth. Also, like, man, I watched that, or that.
And yet it's not about you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it is, in the end, what the gifts we receive
the
from
benefits. It. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But
it's not.
No, it's not. So on that note, it's not about you. It's all about me. Thanks everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. And comments or questions, are always welcome to raise questions at gmail.com.
And topics you want to hear us talk about.
And please also, just final reminder, if you want to talk about a birth.
We need to get some case studies.
Yeah. Please contact us. We would love, even if there are things that they were a year ago, 2 years ago, just recently, or you've been doing births now, you've done the 12 births, or, of fire, the initiation by fire kinds of experiences, or to talk about where you were when you were first a doula and where you are now, this many births, whatever that is, into your career.
This sounds like a series we should do.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So
maybe there's a newer doula out there, or someone who's even yet to take the workshop, that would be interested in taking the workshop, talking to us about your experience, then getting 5 births under your belt, talking to us, 20 births, talking to us, and how that perspective changes. That'd be interesting. That
would be interesting, because I get that experience from people in workshops.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will teach somebody who has already done they've never done birth work. They haven't attended the training. They attend the training. Then they come back and they take the training again.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing births their experience with the workshop the first time in comparison to the second time from the first
so
birth.
different.
Yeah, it's so different because the
Yeah.
second time around, now you're not processing your births any
Yeah.
longer. You are strictly there as the doula.
Yep.
And you are thinking about how you are doing
How you're
birth work.
practicing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
okay. On that note, happy May to everyone, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.